It's not conflict, Nima. I'm sorry. It's a bloody war. Very hot, horrible in every aspect. We have to apply the correct terminology everywhere.
Yeah.
For instance, I am in Southeast Asia, and the war is in Southwest Asia, or West Asia in general, but Southwest Asia, Iran. Well, I am working on it 24/7. Which is I canceled all my travel. I was going to China. I decided to stay in Thailand because here I work full time until 5 in the morning, and I sleep in the morning here. And of course, I keep my channels with China, with Russia, and with Iran as well. And after 13 days, let's say that it's now the 13-day war. As we speak, right? So we're gonna get to 2 weeks this weekend. That's guaranteed, and more. That's also guaranteed, because now both positions are, I would say, set in stone. In fact, and this is not hyperbolic. From the point of view of the Empire of Chaos and their volatile. And I heard this first from the Chinese, and it's fantastic. The baboon in Mar-a-Lago. This is how Trump is being referred to on the Chinese internet. And I would even do a tweak with that. The baboon of War-a-Lago, because this is what it is. So, to prove that, please, all of you, our audience, go to my Telegram channel. I uploaded a few minutes ago a 2-part investigation on Substack by a website called Democracy Defender. It's extraordinary in terms of their naming names in detail and how each of these gangster figures, all part of the Trump administration, are profiting zillions from the war on Iran. So there is the direct component now that we have names, and it's very easy to check what they have been doing. Everybody, the Secretary of Energy, Howard Lutnick, not to mention Witkoff and Kushner, everybody. The crazy Christian Zionist push-up clown posing as Secretary of Forever Wars, Hegseth, everybody, how they're profiting from it, and how this war was destined to happen because it has been planned for a long time by the usual bunch of neocon suspects and the Zionist lobby in Washington and in the Beltway, until they found the right president to unleash it. And the president is the baboon of War-a-Lago. So this is just a small detail of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that the American elites need this war. And Trump, once again, is their messenger. As inconsequential and as absurdist as he is, his latest is that he is defining the war on Iran as an excursion. His own words. So the whole planet cannot take this baboon seriously. The problem is he holds the whole planet hostage with his volatile mood swings and his psychology of a 4-year-old, perhaps 2-year-old, in fact. So they are already, as you know, Nima, carpet bombing Iran. And this will increase. And this was threatened once again earlier this week by the Secretary of Forever Wars. It's the only thing they have left. Of course, there's absolutely no debate in American mainstream media of their horrendous losses, especially across West Asia, and all their military bases, installations, CIA cells, acknowledged CIA cells or invisible CIA cells, hotels that are hosting US military personnel transferred from the bombed bases, you name it. So at the same time, and that gets even crazier, we have the taco element. Trump always chickens out. We are counting, many of us. So far, we have already identified 4 tacos these past few days in desperation. And today, we had confirmation that there were already at least 2 tacos involving Oman. This means that the White House and their sycophants, emissaries, mini gangsters, whatever, they are approaching Turkey, Qatar, Oman, and in the case of Russia, directly, Trump, when he called Putin, not the other way around. So these are 4 instances of taco. He's desperate to find an off-ramp, a way out. Of course, he can never say that in public. He says that in public cryptically. I can end this war anytime I want. We're winning. We're tired of winning. There's nothing else to bomb. We bombed everything. So this is code language to, okay, so that's it. I can declare victory anytime I want, which is what he will do eventually. Not because of the absolutely appalling losses of the US in West Asia, but because the markets would force him to. Otherwise, he'll go down in history as the guy who provoked the total collapse of the global economy, which is already on the way. And this, the Strait of Hormuz is one component of the big picture. And it's getting more complicated by the day. Just as a starter, to you, Nima, and to all of you, our audience, there are 4 levels of transiting or not transiting in the Strait of Hormuz now, which until a few days ago was an international waterway, the most important bottleneck in the world. So now there are 4 levels. First level, China. You can go back and forth anytime you want, anywhere you want to go, wherever you come from, going to China, no problem. Or if you're going back from China to refuel in the Persian Gulf, no problem, because there is a bilateral deal, Tehran, Beijing, which was concluded last Thursday. Definitely, first there was an understanding, an oral understanding. Then they struck a real deal this past Thursday. The second tier is countries who ask Iran for free passage. And then there are 2, especially, but the situation is completely different between both. One of them is Bangladesh. Bangladesh diplomatically asked Iran, look, we have an enormous energy problem. The Iranians said, no problem. As long as you identify yourselves as, coming and going to Bangladesh, no problem. And India. India is extremely complicated. There was a phone call a few days ago, and I include this in one of my columns this week, between Jaishankar, the Ministry of Foreign Relations of India, and Arakshi, Minister of Foreign Relations of Iran. Basically, Jaishankar was asking for free passage in the Strait of Hormuz. This was the key of the conversation. Apparently, Arakshi said yes, and Arakshi behaved like a gentleman, the gentleman that he is. He's a real diplomat, vastly experienced. And he said, look, considering how you treated us these past few weeks, we're going to have to talk about that in the future, but it's okay. Let's keep our relationship. Your strategic ambiguity, we understand why you practice that. But let's talk about this later. For the moment, let's see if our relationship evolves. There's one thing. Today, the Iranians said, no, we did not allow tankers going to India or Indian flag to travel through Hormuz. So now we have a discrepancy between what the foreign ministry in Tehran is saying and what the IRGC is saying. So we don't know how this is going to evolve. So this is tier 2. Then we get to tier 3, which is probably the most complicated of them all. Anybody that has connections with US, Israel, or Europe, or hostile nations, and that may include, for instance, Japan, but maybe not South Korea, verboten, you cannot cross Hormuz. That's it. No permit. And we will, don't even bother to ask because we won't give you a permit. And number 4, which is as complicated as number 3, everybody else. This means the rest of the world. If you have a tanker, whatever the flag of your tanker, and you risk crossing Hormuz without asking permission from Iran, you're going to get hit. This is exactly what happened to a tanker in the past few hours, which was Thai. And it was going to Thailand. They didn't ask permission. So now they're paying the price. So this is just to give to you the complexity of Hormuz, and of course the fact that the Iranians technically can say the strait is open, but at the same time the strait is closed. It depends on who you talk to, and it depends if you're going to get your permit or not. It's very, very simple, you know. So you can imagine, Nima, the repercussions that we are already seeing, but the repercussions even next week is going to be even more hellish than it already is. Because this means most of the oil and the gas is not going anywhere. And you can imagine what this means to the global economy. It's 20% of the global economy's oil. So everything will be upside down. It is already upside down. Like airlines are already freaking out because the price of jet fuel will go to Mars. Grain, you know, food shortages everywhere. So everything now is, and obviously the markets cannot price all that because they don't know where it's going, how it's going to progress or regress for that matter. So this is what the Americans will have to come to grips with, because if with the situation right now, we already have 4 tacos, in the next few days, we're going to have 3 or 4 more tacos, and he has to find a way out. Basically, proclaim victory and leave. But if he proclaims victory and leaves, this means the strategic defeat will be crystal clear for the whole planet. It will be the end of his presidency, guaranteed. The end of American hegemony in West Asia, more than guaranteed. That's already ongoing. And of course, the end of hegemony globally, because who can respect a superpower that gets into a war without planning it? And, you know, they get their asses kicked big time by a medium-sized power under sanctions for 47 years. So that's it. And on the Iranian side, as you know, Nima, they're not budging. We hear it from Arakshi, from Kalibaf, from everybody in the Majlis, anybody speaking. No, that's it. And our list of conditions, it's what I listed in this column that you referred to, the eviction notice to the Americans. That's it. And this is shared by the invisible new Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, new leader Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, the political leadership, the Majlis, the whole of the RGC, all the military, and the population of Iran as well. That's it. And if you don't, okay, this is your eviction notice. You don't want it, okay, the war continues. And the war will end when we say so. We, Iran, not the US. So this is crazy. This, I think, it conveys to you how the whole system of international relations is now completely upside down. And we don't know where this is going. Nobody knows where this is going. And it is a do or die direct clash. The thing is, who's going to blink first? It's not going to be Iran. That's guaranteed. And the price they are paying for that, as you know, Nima, personally, it's horrendous. But there's no other way. There's no other. If you want to defeat an empire, like the Vietnamese did, they paid an horrendous price, and they did defeat an empire.
Pepe, Donald Trump is trying to somehow, by new rhetorics, trying to manipulate the market. But
yes,
looking at what's going on in Germany and France, for example, they started using their reserves of oil. And the United States yesterday has announced that they're going to use their strategic oil reserves. But many people should understand that these reserves are meant to be used for mostly 2 to 3 months, not more than that. And so what is the strategy after this short time? And how do you think that Donald Trump would be able to somehow convince the market that he's doing something? Because after all, you don't see those signs appearing in the market. The oil is going up, is not going down.
No, the markets are not convinced. To answer your question with bluntly, yes. And even the U.S. releasing some of their strategic reserves, what they are releasing or what they are announcing they're going to release will last, according to the best calculations, around a week. That's about it. So 1 week from now, they're going to have to release more. And then they're going to start to freak out big time. So these are mini measures that don't alter what's happening on the battlefield. The fact that Iran now tweaked once again their strategy, and now they are launching ultra hardcore volleys of their most powerful missiles, not the old batch anymore, like the Khorramshahr 4, including Khorramshahr 4, which is a sort of modern missile with 80 mini missiles that can be directed electronically to different locations as well. This over Israel, it's a death sentence, And they have in their underground missile cities in the east part of Iran, hundreds, if not in the low thousands of these missiles. Of course, we're hearing from the only thing that the Department of Forever Wars says is we're bombing everything, we're going to bomb even more, we are tired of bombing. No evidence, nothing that they are really inflicting serious damage to Iran. No, they're bombing indiscriminately. And now, without the raiders in practically all the raiders in West Asia, in all these petromonarchies, they are dead. They're gone. Not to mention the ones in Jordan and in Erbil in Iraq. So the margin of maneuver for the swarms of drones from Iran and now the new batches of super missiles is increasing by the day. Of course, it comes back to political perception, everything, because these people they don't even look at what's really happening in the battlefield. They need to find a narrative to sell to domestic public opinion in the US and to the rest of the world. And it's impossible, because any narrative they will sell, the strategic defeat will be implicit. There's no way out. There's no way out. And that's why it gets more dangerous by the day, because they certainly will be tempted to do something literally apocalyptic, which, by the way, is the mindset of many of these people inside the U.S. administration. I'm not talking about the death cult in West Asia, because this is a bunch of certified apocalyptic psychos. But there are many among the the Zionist axis in the Beltway, in Washington, or in New York, who think like that in apocalyptic terms. And then the path will be open for tactical nuclear weapons or even nuclear weapons. It's still on the table. It's still possible. And that's why it's so terrifying.
I think what's militarily is important to be considered right now. Looking at the map of Iran, you see mostly the targets are in the western of Iran. Yeah. And that shows how, because Donald Trump, looking at what Donald Trump is talking, Pete Heck said, we are controlling everything. The airspace is in our hand. That is not the case, because they're using the Iraqi airspace, getting closer to the Iranian borders and then shooting at Iran. They're not flying over Iran, like whatever.
No.
It's amazing that, all these narratives are falling apart, in my opinion. And you've mentioned something so important, Pepe, which is the radars in the Persian Gulf and in Israel as well. We know most of these radars were destroyed so far. And the air defense systems cannot work without these radars. And they're just
There are photos, Nima, of swarms of Iranian ballistic missiles flying over Israel and going to their targets, and obviously they cannot be intercepted. And some stuff that is filmed by people on the ground, or I saw some image shot by Chinese sailors or Japanese sailors. It's absolutely, you see actually the interceptors just going crazy everywhere except hitting their target. And yes, we all know that they are running out of interceptors all over the spectrum. In desperation, the Americans had to repatriate the THAADs and the Patriots from South Korea. The people in South Korea, the informed people in South Korea, they are beyond angry because the Americans forced them to host these THAADs and Patriots in South Korea. In terms of the relationship with China, was an absolute disaster. And only a few days later, the Americans say, okay, bringing them back, without even asking the South Koreans. So this is how the US treats the vassals as a whole. The only known vassal is Israel, because after all, it's the same thing, right? And of course, this is a long-term process. What these petromonarchies in the Gulf, how are they going to reassess their relationship with the Americans? Or will they be dumb enough to try to keep everything going like it was before, which is impossible, And considering the fact that some of them will be on the way to extinction. Well, Dubai, for all practical purposes, once again, the Dubai business model is dead. And the Emirates, to a great extent, they are about to collapse. There's no way out, So, but these are long-term effects. The short-term effect was delineated by this list sent by Iran through various channels to the Americans. They say, look, if you don't follow our point-by-point list of demands, there's no ceasefire and there's no end to this war. And the list of demands is quite something. It includes everything. End of sanctions, reparations to Iran. Iran continues with its civilian nuclear program the way it wants to do it, with no inspections, nothing. And of course, there's even in one of the points, the larger, the full 9 points, one of them includes a personal apology to Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei by Trump. Obviously, this will never happen. But that's it. This is the eviction notice, something that None of us could ever imagine it will happen now. A mid-sized power reading the riot act to the greatest armada in the history of Star Wars or whatever. The exceptionalists themselves, I say, look, this is it. And if you don't follow, you're going to be mired in this war and you will not have a way out unless you surrender. So the terms of surrender have been handed by Iran to the US. This is, in geopolitical terms, this is the mother of all upsets, right?
I think looking at the reality of what's going on, Pepe, the offensive power of the United States, so far a quarter of Tomahawk missiles were used, a quarter. And we are not getting to, we're getting less than 2 weeks of the conflict. But in terms of the defensive, the situation is even worse. They needed to bring all those air defense systems from South Korea to Israel to defend Israel. I don't know how capable that would be for Israel, but in a long run, you see the capabilities, the offensive capabilities of the United States reducing, and the defensive capabilities of the United States and Israel is also reducing because, the radars are not there anymore. The air defense system, early warning system is not. Israelis are somehow experiencing something that they have never experienced before. Mm-hmm. And not only that, bringing in the Arab states in the Persian Gulf, they were told, Pepe, before the war started, that Donald Trump told them that this war going to be over in 4 days. And look at what is happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And which brings us back to, he said that, 2 days ago or 3 days ago. And this is absolute. There are many. It doesn't even qualify as a page of the Dadaist manifesto or the Surrealist manifesto. It's everybody's lost at a loss for words because this is coming from the President of the United States. This war is an excursion. I can end this war anytime I want. We are tired of winning. And then, in the middle of all that, he says, I got into this war because of Steve, Marco, Pete, etc. He's throwing his bunch of clowns under the bus because obviously, the coward that he is, he cannot draw responsibility to him. It was his ultimate decision. He was not forced to do anything. And he's saying that the bunch of clowns who actually speak to him almost on a daily basis forced him to bomb Iran. Which, if you take him at his word literally, these people are traitors to the United States because they fed the President of the United States with false information, leading to a war. This is beyond serious. It's grounds to throw him in jail and throw everybody else in jail. So what is it? Once again, the only thing that they excel at is building narratives, tweaking narratives, and changing the narratives when it doesn't suit their purposes. And this is a master case of we have to tweak the narratives and change the narrative as soon as possible. And in between, we see this ghastly spectacle of throwing all the clowns under the bus. Preventing himself from assuming the consequences of his acts and his decisions, bragging at the same time that he's winning, when obviously he's being fed false information over and over again, if you look at what's really happened in the battlefield, and trying to find taco, trying to find the off-ramp that is absolutely impossible. Once again, because if he goes taco, this is the recognition of a massive strategic defeat. Compared to it, everything that came before Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan was child's play, really. So all that, Nima, makes him even more dangerous than he already is. So this Chinese image of an out-of-control baboon completely applies. An orange baboon, cornered, very, very angry, dangerous, with no way out. And so he's going to unleash his fury everywhere. It's extremely, extremely dangerous.